This is the Mainframe Connect podcast, brought to you by the Linux Foundation's Open Mainframe project. Sponsored by Phoenix Software International and by Infinity, a Converge company. Mainframe Connect includes the I Am a Mainframer series, the Riveting Mainframe Voices series, and other content exploring relevant topics with mainframe professionals and offering insights into the industry and technology. Today's episode is another in the I Am a Mainframer series, exploring the career journeys of mainframe professionals.
Hello and welcome. You're joining us here on another I'm a Mainframer podcast. I'm your host, as always, Steven Dickens, and I'm joined by Ricki West. Hey, Ricki. Welcome to the show.
Right.
Yeah, good. So let's dive straight in, get the listeners and viewers orientated. Tell everybody what you do and who you do it for.
Yeah, okay. So I'm a systems programmer for the Land Registry in the UK. So I've been there for just over a year now.
Fantastic. So this show is all about understanding mainframers and what they do. I know what the Land Registry does, but we've got an international audience. Do you want to explain what that is first, and then we'll use that as a jumping point?
So the Land Registry is the register for all the land and all the houses and all the deeds, etc., for anyone in the UK, except Scotland. So it's only England and Wales.
Northern Ireland or not? Northern Ireland?
No, not Northern Ireland. That's a different.
The vagaries for the international audience of the way that the UK is structured, right?
Yeah, because you've got different politics, depends on what's going on in different places, and it's very different, and especially when you're trying to sort stuff out.
So, fun fact: England has been tracking who owns what land since the Doomsday Book in 1066. So you work for one of the oldest organisations probably involved in the...
Yeah, and I think we were one of the first to take a mainframe as well.
Fantastic. So let's maybe start there. So just give us a little bit about... I mean, I know what a system programmer does, but we have a bunch of people who listen to this show. So just tell us about what your day-to-day looks like. Obviously, don't give us too much proprietary information, but just give us a flavour, Ricki, about what you do on the daily.
So I'm quite a general sysprog. So I do a lot of everything. So I do a little bit of security, so a bit of RACF. I also do like SMP work, so software installs. I do a little bit of hardware, so we're upgrading to a new Z box later this year. So I'm organising all that and sorting out all the hardware sort of devices and all that sort of stuff. Predominantly, it's very much software based, keeping everything running. I do a bit of MQ. There's some system automation in there, a bit of networking. So it's quite a broad thing. But I mean, I've only been doing this for a year. Before that, I used to work for BMC. And before that was RSM Partners.
Yeah.
Before they got the acquisition.
Oh, so that you did RSM, they got bought by BMC. You were at BMC.
Yes. So that was where my mainframe career started, at RSM. So I started my career in 2019.
So you've done largely a consulting organisation. That's what RSM Partners is now. Sort of rebirthed, if you will, as Vitali. Then you did BMC as a vendor, and now you're an end user. Kind of, what are the differences there? You've packed a lot into sort of 6 years of career.
Yeah. So
what kind of differences as you transition between those?
So when I first started, I was always. So I started when I started RSM. I was on the managed services side, so I was contracted out to be a skilled person, basically, and that's where I pretty much learned the mainframe alongside people that I was working with, and then I started taking on services once I actually got my feet on
So
the ground sort of stuff.
What was that first experience like? You're sort of new to the platform, dropped in the deep end. Mark and the RSM team sort of do a great job, really deep. What was the sort of first experience with the platform? How did you find it?
I mean, it was intense, very intense, because it was nothing like you'd ever experienced before. So you had to relearn everything from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, going from Windows and Linux to Z is very different, especially having to learn how to use PF keys to navigate around. And I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great. I've never
Because that's
really
the experience. That's been the experience of. I've had a lot of sort of earlier career professionals on this podcast over the last 7 years, and I think there's this perception of like younger people can't pick this platform up. It's new. It's different. There's a lot of sort of, and universally, what you just said of, I loved it. There's a bunch of things to learn, but I loved it, has been the sort of comment I've had from everybody. Is that kind of?
I think it depends on your mindset, really. I mean, I'm not a graphical person. I couldn't do web design to save my life. I couldn't make anything. I couldn't make a pretty website. That's not me. I've always been functional coding to make everything, to make something happen. So a terminal is great for me because I don't care if it's pretty. I just want it to do what I want it to do.
And the Mainframe's kind of perfectly designed for that, right?
Exactly, and
it's functional. It's not pretty. It's functional.
This is for me. This is definitely for me. I don't have to, be all arty and make everything all flowery. It's right, function over anything, and it's exactly what I wanted. Because that's the sort of mindset I have. I have like a logical mindset, and everything is all about logic.
So let's go back to the system programmer role. It's that kind of Swiss Army knife, if you will, of kind of role in the mainframe space. You'll have a kick specialist, you'll have a DB2, you might have somebody who focuses on storage, you might have somebody who focuses on network, you might have somebody who focuses on security in kind of bigger shops, but they'll always have that kind of general system programmer role. Have you found, I think a lot of people watch this show to kind of find out what the roles are, find out how they can navigate a career through the mainframe platform. Have you found being a system programmer?
So I originally was a Kix person when I first started.
Okay, see,
so when I started, I was on a service to deliver Kix. So I learned Kix and I learned MQ alongside with it. And then while I was doing that, I then also transitioned into DB2. So then I became a DBA that also knew Kix and MQ. And then, because everything on the mainframe is connected. It was, instead of, if you have a Kix problem, it was, instead of seeing the fact that there was, an SQL error, throwing it at the DBAs, it was the fact that I could follow, the trail and find it out for myself and find out what was going on. Because everything on the mainframe is connected. You can find a log from somewhere that then links to something else. And that's what, that's how I've almost transitioned and built my skills, because I've always connected one system from another. So when because I did MQ and DB2 and Kix, I then started doing security assessments for those subsystems. So then I started learning RACF and ACF2. I did do some TSS. I did do some top secret at some point, but it didn't really stick very well. It was way too complicated. But I prefer ACF2 over RACF. There's a lot of people that will probably hate me for saying that.
The Broadcom team are going to like that, but the IBM team not so much. But hey,
the only reason why I like ACF2 over RACF is because it's deny unless authorized, not the other way around. Because the amount of time that I see in RACF, people just haven't defined things, and then it's like, but we've got access anyway. So, and it's.
It kind of leans into that zero trust type model of
Yeah, and that's
You've
what I
not got
like. It's,
access to anything until we give you access, rather than you've got access to everything until we take it away.
exactly. So, I mean, if RACF could do that, then yes, definitely. But it's not like that. So it's always, But yeah, that's so. I did that.
Well, it sounds like you bounced around the subsystems, adding capabilities. You did kicks, you did MQ, you did DB2, then you got into security, and
Now I'm a sysprog. So
yeah.
And then when I went to Land Registry, I then learnt basic sysprogging, because the thing that I found was, while I was at BMC and I could do all this stuff, I had a very big fundamental gap where I didn't actually understand the operating system underneath of where the systems were, what the systems were sitting on.
So you'd kind of always been the layer above the OS.
Yeah, exactly. I've always
been
been in the middle.
layer.
So now I've started, this is why I then went into wanting to be a sysprog, so that way I could see underneath, so I could play with, how the system set up, do SMP work and networking, which would then go along with, how kicks and MQ would connect in and that sort of stuff. So I have tried to, follow the path and always stay connected to where I was. I mean, I'm no longer touching kicks at all anymore, just because we don't have it.
Yeah.
But I do use everything else.
Fantastic. So, are you involved in any? So, are you involved in any of the community? GSE, probably, I would say, given the accent and where you're based.
Yeah. So
Open Mainframe project, kind of getting involved in any of the open
source. I am
source.
the chairman of Wavez. So Wavez is the 101 and 102 initiative for young people. So it's a community for anyone under, say, 7 years worth of experience, targeted students. It's predominantly in the UK. I have tried to push it out to Europe. But we do events where we'll have like a day event, for example. I held that at Barclays in April. There was a day event where I had a stream, well, 2 streams. So I had one session was, say, introduction to RACF, and then that was the 101, and then the more advanced sort of RACF session. And they were side by side, so that way I had 115 people attend, and they basically bounced between a security session, a DB2 session. We had a kick session. There was a ZOS session. So, and there was 2 sessions at each time, depending on who this, so that way they could actually go between one and the other, depending on their specialisms. So if they were if they were a kicks programmer, and they actually knew kicks quite well, they would go to the 102, but they would then go to the 101 RACF, and so that way you could then multi-skill,
build the skills
exactly
up.
So that way you could then multi-skill, but then you would go to the level of technical session that you would want for you. So I did that for as a day at Barclays, and then over August I did the Wave Summer Surf, which was a virtual event, 1 day every week over August. So we had, again, side by side 101 and 102 sessions, roughly about the same sort of topics, depending on people, like the speakers' availabilities. I had to move them around a bit, but so we had 40 sessions.
Wow. How well attended were they? Did you get how many? Did you get a bunch of people?
So I had something like 400 registrations.
Wow, that is fantastic.
Yeah. So it's just
I mean, we just was digging into the BMC survey, and if you've not checked it out, I recommend you do. The demographic has changed. So I think we've been saying for the last 10, 15 years, all these guys in their late 50s and 60s are going to retire. And they have retired. So what it's interesting looking at the BMC data on the demographics, and maybe you can harvest a couple of data points for sort of the introductions of your charts. It's flipped. We've got millennials and Gen Zs kind of coming into the platform, and that's happened in the last year, 18 months. The number, if you look at the last two surveys, they've just done the 20th one this time. That demographic has really transitioned. So having 400 people turn up to those sort of virtual events, that speaks volumes, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so I also run the we have what's called the Wavez Student Scholarship, which is where we'll get sponsorship from various vendors, companies, etc., who want to sponsor a student to attend GSE or GSUK.
Yeah.
So I run that scholarship. So I've actually got to award them the scholarships today, actually. But I had over 115 applicants.
Wow, that's great.
To attend the conference. So I've just got to choose which ones actually to go, really, because they have as part of the scholarship, they have to basically say why they want to be part of the community, how they will benefit, what they will take back, and what are they going to share, because it's more about taking information from the conference and sharing it between their peers, whether that's they set up a student society at the university, and then they share the knowledge that way, and then they can do all the stuff like Z Explore and the skills depot and all that sort of stuff, because that's the stuff that I push, because that's where I originally started. I set up the student society at Wolverhampton Uni. So I don't know if you know Herb Daly. He was
I know Herb really well.
So Herb
legend that is Herb Daly.
Yeah, so Herb and Henry Krupa were the reasons why I started my career.
I was with Henry this week. Great guy.
Yeah.
So
I'm also part of Mainframe Society as well. So obviously that's with Henry and Angie and Al and Rui.
Yeah. So Rick, we're now getting to the point where we're talking about a bunch of people that we know, and the conversation's going to disappear. So you're sort of 5-6 years in. We talked about it a little bit off camera. I'm going to ask you to go back. You talked about the journey. There's not a lot of runway yet. There's six years of runway, but you got the opportunity to go back to yourself, to your younger self. You're graduating from Wolverhampton. What would you say, based on that period of sort of the last 6 years? What would you say to yourself to go do more of this and go do less of that?
I'd say do more of the. I would have done more of the Z Explore stuff first before I started, and actually got more of a feel for it. Because I started on Kicks, I didn't know anything else, and then I just focused on what it was that I was doing, and I didn't focus on how it worked underneath. So if I was to have done the stuff like the Z Explore and the Skills Depot, I would have had a lot more grounding. Whereas I'm
understand the system a bit more before you go specialised, basically.
Exactly. Whereas I did it the opposite way around. I specialised first, and I understood how the subsystem worked without understanding how it sits underneath and how it interacts with the base layer of the operating system. So if I would have understood that, because I'm obviously doing it backwards, I've gone top down rather than going down and up, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But I mean, it does sometimes. It depends on whether you like to have a grounding first, or whether you like to have the little light bulb moment where you go, oh, well, that's how it works then, rather than right, I understand this, and then you build on top of it, rather than I know how this works, but it's like magical mystery, isn't it? It just happens.
Yeah, I think there's really something in that. I think understanding the system, what a logical partition is, what DASD is, what these things are, and how they all kind of fit together, and understanding how ZOS works is a really good thing for anybody. There's Mainframe red books that get you started. There's hundreds of courses. There's the stuff from Interskill, the stuff on the IBM portals, the stuff on Broadcom. There's plenty of material out there. You reach out to you and sort of connect. You'd probably got a bunch of course. You ran the course that you said, the 101 courses. I don't think there's a lack of places for people to start. But I think there's some really good advice there. The other question I've got, and I've been asking this for 7 years now, and I always love the answers to this, and I'm really interested in your perspective. Where do you see the platform 3, 5, 10 years out from now? You've got sort of 6 years kind of hands-on in the engine room type experience. Where do you see it going forward?
I see that it's going to be we're going to be in the same sort of position where we're still trying to educate people that the platform has the capabilities, but they don't see it. They still think that cloud is still, the way to go, and it's not. It's, we see that a lot of companies are now bringing stuff back off cloud because it's so expensive. But I see sometimes, like, with the way that the mainframe is, and the fact that we're constantly having to push to organizations to use its abilities, I think that sometimes, it's going to be the same sort of thing now as it is going to be like then, as well as the way that the banking systems apparently are going to go. We've got all these new tokens that are going to happen instead of real money, so that's going to be an interesting one to see whether we're ever going to go blockchain for money, because that would completely change the way that the mainframe is seen, because obviously that's the mainframe's main purpose, really, isn't it, for banking?
We're starting to see the platform, the digital assets that you mentioned. The Linux One team is doing a good job of securing those workloads onto the platform. There's some inherent characteristics of the mainframe down in the HSMs and deep buried in the way that the box works. So I think there's some confidence that the team can have that the team in Poughkeepsie and have architected it to adapt for those new workloads. But I do agree there's a transition coming for sure.
Yeah. I definitely think there's going to be something that's going to happen, and you've got the stuff like with the quantum safe encryption stuff. Not many companies actually realise that, especially when I was talking to an architect yesterday, and they were saying that they don't know how to protect themselves against, harvest now, decrypt later with a quantum. And I said, well, we've got quantum safe encryption on the mainframe, so why can't we just stick it all on there in Tinny, and set it up so that way we can protect ourselves. And it was the fact that we got the turned around and said, well, we didn't know that existed. It's like,
it's only been there for 2 generations.
I've only been banging on about it for a couple of years, but since I actually started. But this is the thing that I'm seeing. It's, you are, no matter how much somebody that works on the mainframe talks about the mainframe, it is still really difficult to actually get other people inside organizations that are on different technology to understand its capabilities and to choose to go back on the mainframe rather than come off it.
So, Rick, we've got to wrap this up. We could chat about coming relatively from the same part of the world. We could chat about the West Midlands and Wolverhampton. We could talk about the mainframe. So I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You've been watching the I'm a Mainframer podcast. Please click subscribe, do all those things, turn your notifications on, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mainframe Connect podcast and this episode in the I Am a Mainframer series, sponsored by Phoenix Software International and Vicom Infinity, a Converge company. Like what you heard? Subscribe to get every episode, or watch us online at openmainframeproject.org. Until next time, this is the Mainframe Connect podcast.